there, Chitheads, and welcome back to another episode of Board Chitlist. We've got a great treat for you this week. Me and Tristan have broken into the Steamforged Games warehouse. Yeah, well, broken in. There was a door that was open and we snuck through.
And then we were very kindly given drinks and taken to the boardroom. It's not really breaking in, Leki.
Some could say that we were almost invited. But
that's not the normal way it happens.
No, not at all.
Just run the show up.
We're sat here with Richard and Jamie from Steamforged Games. How you doing, guys?
Hello. Good. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
It's nice to be here. Thanks.
Are you enjoying this Manchester weather that we have this summer?
It's nice, isn't it? Having a bit of sun and unfortunately our building's quite enclosed, so when we're actually in the building we don't see the light, we just see our LED lights above our heads.
Gamers who don't see the light.
Yeah,
what is this?
It's pretty shocking. But yeah, it's nice to walk outside at the end of the day and go, oh, that's what I missed today.
That would have been a great day.
Yeah.
We've been enjoying about 3-4 days of solid sunshine, which for Manchester is one of the harbingers of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody's got all the house and affairs in order, because it's not going to last. Let's get cracking then. Richard, we'll start with you. If you just give us a general background to what got you into games, when did you start gaming, and what drew you to games development, really?
Sure. So I started playing way back when. Hero Quest is the introduction by my dad. He brought
Best Christmas ever.
It's kind of the moments he brings it out. He's like, let's play this, son. And the old games by Ian Livingstone as well. The Fighting Fantasy. Going through the adventure books and that was my experience. And my dad kind of brought them into the house, and Mum was like, "What are you playing random toys for?" But it just get me into more and more interested in it. And then I found Games Workshop, like I always do, and then that was kind of it. Then the hobby side has always sat with me for the last few years. I've done computer game bits like that, but I always come back to my roots, which is board games and tabletop games, especially miniatures. And from there, I met Jamie through miniature gaming, so we were good friends playing War Machine. We played quite a high level, and then we also met Matt Hart, my co-founder of Steamforged, through War Machine. He's a gamer and incredible painter, Matt. If you've never seen Matt's painting, you go and check it out. He's amazing. And we kind of sat down, me and Matt, one day, and at the time Jamie was around the world winning all the War Machine events, and me and Matt were kind of getting more of the twilight years of the War Machine kind of community, and we're going, we're getting a little bit jaded at the time with the format. They were changing the game a little bit, and we kind of said, why don't we use our skills to try and make a game? And I come from a design background. That's what I trained in as teacher and design teacher. Matt come from a production background, but he'd always wanted to be the creative side in the video games. We kind of swapped roles, really. I ended up with a lot more production. He used a lot more the dev side, but between us, we cross over a lot. And yeah, fast forward 4 years, and here we are. We started Steamforged, and I rang Jamie one day and went, Jamie, do you fancy a job? And he's like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And yeah, we went from there. So we kind of gets us right to today. So now not only do I make games and play games, but it's just a hobby, and everything's kind of all fell into place. So it's great. Yeah.
Once the hobby gets its clutches onto you, it doesn't really let go very quickly, does it?
No, it's in my blood, so, and I think it always will be in my blood. And I think Steamforged really is a sign of that. We've tried to keep a culture of that for all our staff. We're always playing up in the Forge, our on-site store, and that we're always playing in there, and after work, and just playing games and chatting about games and the industry all the time. So it's quite nice. So.
Great.
One of the things that won't be apparent in the podcast is the sheer size of this place. Steamforged, the warehouse is enormous. We nearly got lost in it coming in on the way in. How far you guys have come in the past few years is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Jamie, can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started and stuff? We've obviously heard the War Machine stuff there, but did you get Hero Quest for Christmas one year and then go down a rocky slope?
No, actually. It was a bit more of, I guess, from miniatures games perspective, it's a bit more of a conventional start for me, which is I played with the Games Workshop systems, Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40,000, was where I started off when I was about 10. Played those games for quite a long time, and the thing that really that took my eye when I got to sort of 2021 was I really enjoy competitive gaming. I've always been a very hyper competitive person, so when I learned that there were tournaments with this hobby that I already like to play, I was like, I'm in. Just let's go.
I'm made for this.
Yeah, and really got into playing competitively with all the games that I played. Moved over to War Machine because I was just enjoyed playing that game more when it came out than the GW systems at the time, and started to do very well in the tournaments. And when you're playing a competitive game at quite a high level, you need to have a very analytical mind, I think, and you need to make sure that you know everything that your opponent knows, and I mean, kind of need to guess what they're doing before they're going to do it, so you can predict movements and try and outplay them. And luckily, that's something I was quite good at. I actually won the British Championship for War Machine 4 years running. I went to I was one of the first people ever to cross the pond and go and win a big American convention as well.
So Richard wasn't kidding when he said you were flying around the world.
There was a time at which
International man of mystery.
There was a time at which I was very bad at being sociable, but was spending all my time and money going around the world and playing tournaments and loving it. Basically, it was a great time in my life. And then that sort of was starting to wind down. And at the same time as that was starting to wind down, Rich asked me if I wanted to help him playtest Guild Ball, which I said I'd be very, very interested in. They were very happy with my work. And
it's very hard to get him to do that, by the way, because Jamie's a one system man. So back in the day, so
you were a War Machine at that point.
That was it. No, nothing else, nothing at all. So
I'm acutely conscious that I have a very obsessive nature. So I back in the day, I didn't used to play many games, but the games I played a lot of. So it took me a bit of time to get to try Guild Ball. When I did, I loved it, fell in love with it, and then helped play test it. And they were so impressed with my work that I was so thankful they offered me a job. And since then, it's been the job I never knew that I always wanted, if that makes any sense. And now that I'm here, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. It's fantastic to work here.
Excellent. Brilliant. So all the notes on the Guild Ball weren't going back saying it needs to be more like Warhammer, then we need more like War Machine mechanics in this. Then before you know it, then you've just got Blood Bowl. That sounds epic though. It sounds like you're a real close-knit sort of family, a lot of really close friends just gaming and smiling and laughing.
It started off, like I said, before years. It feels like a short time, but it also feels a long time as well.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the first hires we did were friends and, people we knew. But actually, some people left us, some people have grown with us, like Jamie's one that's grown with us. And, that's natural in any company of what we're going through. And I think we're 4 years in, we've just had a significant investment. You've probably seen, a $5 million investment into the company. So it's our next journey is now beginning, over the next course of taking an entrepreneurial base where we started and starting a bit more of that corporate life. And, we didn't imagine 4 years ago that would even be possible, or even if we should ever do that. It's two guys in a bedroom with an idea. That's where we started, and to make games. And this journey and these opportunities have just allowed us to, employ 40-odd people, to give them opportunities in this industry and just keep growing it, basically, And we've had ups and downs over the last 4 years. I'm not going to say we're perfect. We're not perfect. But what we've done is been persistent, and we've learned, and we're growing. And that's what we always do. So
brilliant. Well,
do you want to talk to us a little bit about how this investment came about? I mean, were you courted by this? I don't know how much you want to sort of share.
No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, so we, about 8 months ago, or 6 to 8 months ago, we started to look at, what the journey would be next for the company, and and we were getting, it looks like there'd be some external interest. So we started following down that route, and from that we had about 10 parties interested in to come in and to invest into the company. Me and Matt own the company, 50-50 now, and so we had a lot of chance to actually bring someone in. So we felt it was a good opportunity because what it would allow us to do, and looking at Kickstarter companies that predominantly found in Kickstarter, it's quite difficult sometimes to get out of the cycle of Kickstarters. And we saw our growth period over the next kind of 10 to 15 years. We could gradually get ourselves out of that over time by trading, etc. But it was a constant fight, and the last year or so we've been going, well, if we could only order an extra X amount of that stock, and well, we're going to put the money here though, and we've got to do that, and it's a juggling act a little bit. And I feel for a lot of companies, some of it's a lot behind the scenes a lot of time, and I can see other companies struggling with these issues, and actually there isn't always an opportunity to get out of it. But we found this kind of avenue to help support that, and what this investment will do is it really strengthens our back end. It means that we can get some right senior management in to support the management team. We can get logistics in place as well to actually support the delivery of our products. We can look at our stocking issues and make sure we're stocking that well. We're keeping re-ups so the retailers are happy. It's going to, over the next kind of 6 to 12 months, we're really going to see the benefits of what we've done, and they're going to grow, and you're going to see that in the marketplace. And we couldn't be happy with our partners, Foresight. They've been fantastically supportive. The fact we've got Ian Livingstone as our NED as well, so
that's
Ian
so cool.
is amazing. Like you couldn't imagine it. So Ian's awesome, and so it's just everything seems to be really falling into place in that. And I think some of the issues we've had in the past are now start to rectify ourselves and really kind of smooth our journey going forward. So it's been great. So
looking more towards the business side of things and you know, free you up a bit more to look at developing, really.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, again, it's supporting the development team. So, you know, we're not strapped on time. It allows, you know, me to step into my CEO role a bit more and give those guys a bit more support in that area. So, you know, you can bolster that team up. We've already brought in, you know, some consultancy work, you know, pre-Christmas to start working on project management and controlling that. And the benefits already been seen by the team up there and that. So it's across the company. We're just seeing this next level of journey. And I think the weird bit with Steamforged is we've always tried to present ourselves as, you know, a really professional outfit. And, you know, we always strive for that top standard, you know. And sometimes I think we've done that too well. And then people kind of assume, oh, these guys have been doing it for years. And, you know, and we haven't, you know what I mean? We
still sort of feeling your way through.
Still, you know, we're 4 years in compared to a lot of the companies, but we get compared to, you know, the likes of Cool Mini and Not or Fancy Flight Games Workshop. And these companies are vastly bigger and vastly, you know, upsized than us. I mean, it's a massive compliment, don't get me wrong, that we get compared to them. But it's also, you know, it's daunting at times that, you know, we are doing. So we're obviously doing something well, but when we do something wrong, it's like, well, Simon wouldn't have done that. Well, you know, sure they wouldn't, but, it's a case of we are learning. You know, we're constantly learning. But we are definitely trying to improve and get better on them as well.
It's interesting what you were saying there about Kickstarter and sort of getting away from that as your like main platform. Yeah. That seems to be like the goal of a lot of like indie game developers. You know, Jamie Stegmaier started through Kickstarter, and now he's managed to pull himself away from that, and he just sells directly to retail and stuff. I've spoken to other like game designers and producers who've said similar things as well. It seems to be there's a certain mindset about Kickstarter is the beginning and ending of all gaming now, you know, and that's where everything's at. But actually, I think it kind of, it's brilliant, and I obviously use it as a platform as well, but it's also very restricting, and it puts pressures on publishers which are almost undue. You know, if you were going to your bank manager to apply for a loan, you'd have that discussion with your bank manager to get your business started. With Kickstarter, you're having that discussion with, you know, between anywhere from 500 to hundreds of thousands of people who are all now your bank manager in effect.
Well, it's a really good point. I mean, we see it as a, you know, we love our business. We're not completely moving away from it. We think it's a fantastic platform, and I think any tabletop company nowadays, I do think needs to be involved in Kickstarter because it's a brilliant PR platform. It's a brilliant way to celebrate ideas and get, you know, crowd information. So, you know, we see it as part of, you know, fundamental to our business. But like you said, you are showing the world. So, you know, you're telling that story, and fair play, you have to do that as well. You know, but if you're going direct to retail product, a lot of, you know, things that happen, you just wouldn't see. You know, if that boat was delayed in direct to retail product for 8 months, you would have no idea.
It'd be a footnote in a catalogue.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and these kind of messages, you know, if you've got an issue with a molding or something like that, all that kind of things. And I think 99% of the time, a lot of you Kickstarter backers, you know, the 90% of them will see the post, see the updates, and take a very reasonable response and go, that's fair enough. And they'll shut that email down, and that'll be it. But, you know, there'll be that small percentage of backers that, you know, are very passionate, and they will join in positive, negative, critically. And, you know, most of the time it's to try and improve or to help, you know, to highlight you guys. This isn't right, guys. And like, we know we're trying to fix it, you know, but it's, you know, it can be frustrating. It can end up in a bit of a troll session on there. But actually, generally, people just want improvement, want betterment. So it's never done out of you know, pure malice. I very rarely see something that pure malice. So.
And they come back. At the end of the day, you know, the figures speak for themselves, especially for Steamforged Games, is that you've got this loyal fan base who are going to come back and support you again and again. And I suppose when you do have the like a troll fest or anything like that, it sometimes gets hard to see like the end result, but the end result is the game is delayed by a week or, you know, a month or whatever it is, and it's an issue that just gets overcome and then done. But like you say, it's a little bit like having yourself exposed to the public, having to account for all of the inner processes.
But it gets treated more and more like a marketplace, doesn't it? I suppose as time goes on, and I think once, you know, it was a huge industry disruptor for retail, and now it's the sort of norm in a couple of industries, board games being one of them. So how will that evolve, really?
Yeah, I mean, just literally going to pick up on that point. It's been really interesting to watch how Kickstarter has made indie gamers and just all gamers using the platform evolve over time and how they approach it. I mean, Devil May Cry that we've got live on Kickstarter at the moment is actually just a great example of that, where we've really taken a leap forward in how we approach Kickstarter and the fact that this is the most fully developed game that we've ever taken to the platform. A lot of the time, and historically, you'll see a lot of gamers, indie game designers, come to the platform and say, "This is a game we're going to develop," or "It's partially developed." And now you're seeing a lot more of those companies come to the platform and go, "This is an almost or is a fully developed game. What do you think of it?" And people getting more and more used to that, I think, and responding better, I think.
Excellent. And when you say most developed, then is this a case of once the Kickstarter's finished, then it's all the sort of all the digital masters and stuff get sent off to the printers, or is just a little bit more tweaking and to be done there?
Yeah, I mean, the reason you say sort of majority of developed or almost fully developed is because you want to give yourself that little extra chance. Just because there are no better play testers and proofreaders than the public, and you should never write that off. Just even if you just go, "This is done. We've proofread this a million times. We're going to take it to Kickstarter and show people." There's always going to be that one person that goes, "You missed a little typo here or something there." So it's always good to say it's nearly finished in case you've got small tweaks to make later on. So that's exactly true for Devil May Cry. There's very little to nothing that we need to do post it's finished, but it's always just good to leave it open. Just on the off chance, there's lots of people engaging with that rulebook right now, downloading it from the Kickstarter page. And if there's something they spot, just that we haven't because we're human, it's really good to leave yourself open to go, "Okay, we can fix that for production. Now we can go."
Excellent.
Could you talk to us about the 7-day window as well? Because this is quite a short Kickstarter, isn't it, for Devil May Cry?
So there's a lot of elements that we put together that we thought we'd try for the first time. And that we've not done with our previous campaigns, particularly the length of the campaign. We haven't done any stretch goals, haven't done any add-ons at all, and as you say, it's a very short campaign. It's mainly to try and channel all those elements together. I mean, it's no secret really that there's an element of FOMO to Kickstarter. Fear of missing out. Yeah. And it's totally fair to say that it's trying to tap into that to make the Kickstarter successful. But at the same time, it's also, trying to eliminate unnecessary areas of a Kickstarter. What can happen sometimes with extremely long Kickstarters, 3-4 week Kickstarters, if you haven't prepared properly, you can have a bit of a dead space in the middle where your updates are not quite as flashy as they were at the start. People are less interested and you can have a bit of a dip as well. Yeah. And making the most out of that. If you're already not planning to have stretch goals, you're already not planning to have add-ons, you need to ensure people are engaged from start to finish. Yeah. So acknowledging that, it's actually quite a good idea to keep a shorter Kickstarter. You can have a very solid burst of all the information that you've got and have people excited from start to finish.
I think so with that in mind, what we did was we flipped it on the head. So we actually did a month of marketing instead. So we announced the title a month ahead, and then we've done a whole month of kind of releasing content and information, telling people it'll be 7 days, telling people when it's coming. And that's led them to that window. Because one of the issues with doing a long campaign, traditionally people thought, well, we'll do a long campaign because you get the people's pay windows. That was so they have enough money to buy it during the campaign.
Yeah, you could catch the start payday and the end of payday as well.
But actually we thought, well, actually, if you tell them a month ahead it's coming in this week, they can do the same thing. They can save that money for that window, right? And as Jamie said, stretch goals are iconically let's unlock more goals, but let's pull the big industry secret here that everyone knows. Stretch goals were built into the core pledge most of the times what people are buying, and it's a way of incentivizing people over time. But actually, it's already been costed, and a lot of Kickstarter backers know that. They know it's there, and it's actually why for this one we thought, well, why do that? Let's just go. You know what? This is the maximum value we can do as a publisher for you. Yeah. Let's put it all in one box. Let's give you one price, and let's see what you respond. And actually, reading the comments and that, there's a genuine lot of people going, "Thank you for doing like this. It's very obvious what I'm getting. I'm not worried about what I'm not missing out on, and it's fair price. You're getting a lot of stuff. We're giving them the backers are giving you early. They're going to wait for that product, but they're going to get like Jamie said, the former. They're going to get some Kickstarter exclusive bits, and they're going to get a very well priced set. So it's an interesting experiment, and we're pretty happy with the results at the moment. So yeah.
It's also just another minor point, just from working in that comment section, the entire conversation is different as a result of the make of the Kickstarter, because the game is near fully developed and there's not many complications to ask about the stretch goals. People could just be like, let's talk about the game mechanics. Fine, let's talk about the game mechanics. They're done. We can talk completely openly, and we don't have to go, oh, we're not entirely sure yet, or we'll give you some other delaying answer. No, it's all there. It's all there to read. Let's go and have a conversation about it and really get excited about this game.
It's just really nice to see, seeing that conversation, not worrying about, we're 4K from the next stretch stretch goal. They're actually literally, like Jamie said, they're talking about the mechanics and how does it work and watching the videos. And that's end of the day, we're making a game. We're not making how much you're going to get on the pot. It's not a charity auction.
How many toys you can fit in the bag, sort of thing.
That's not what we're doing. We're making a cool experience for people. So,
and the figures speak for themselves, as you said.
Our team's done a great job. I mean, Tom Lishman is our lead on this project, especially. So one of Russ's team, but Tom's done a fantastic job with DMC. He's a massive fan himself, and it blew us away. I remember coming in and kind of saying, I hadn't checked on the DMC project for a few weeks, and I kind of, how's the DMC project going? And like, well, you not see the sculpts? I'm like, no, I haven't seen the sculpts. And they showed me, and it was literally in a few weeks we had this many sculpts. I was like, oh my god, these are out of this world, So. Yeah, and Russ and the team and Jamie was like, yeah, I'm pretty happy with these.
All right, that's excellent. So in terms of the game then, with it being an established IP, have you been quite regimented with what you can work with, or have you just been given like a very sort of like tight set of constraints, or they've just gone, there's a few games here, you can just pick and choose your most favourite bits and put them into something new?
Interesting story that, actually, because when we first started talking to Capcom about working on the Devil May Cry license, then they initially were asking us to look at Devil May Cry 4, and then it was actually on the back of their initial release of Devil May Cry 5 when they started to release the teaser videos, and they were like, actually, we're really happy with the public response to what we've had so far. We'd actually like you to work on Devil May Cry 5 content instead.
Fantastic.
So we were like, this is fantastic. We get to do something we've never done before, which is to work on a game that is not yet released, which is just an amazing opportunity. So they gave us access to like lots of playthrough videos and other content and stuff that people out in the public didn't have yet. And it's like, this is amazingly exciting. We can't talk about any of this stuff. And it was an amazing experience. So we did focus down very much on the content of Devil May Cry 5, limited ourselves to that kind of content, especially because Capcom had asked us to as well. And there was also more than enough to work from. So they were the only really constraints we put on ourselves. And yeah, there was, as I say, there was more than enough material to work from to create a game.
We had a lot of flexibility. Capcom are fantastic partners, so when we do our initial pitching and that, and Matt, my business partner Matt, will do a lot of that at the top end, the creative side, the core concept of the overall arc and that. But the very, very riffy sessions where we actually go down to Capcom, show the idea down, they'll have their input back and forward. Matt will bring it back to the team here. Dev will have their input, and it'll swirl around for quite a few weeks. It takes a few months to get that process done, but at the end of that, there'll be a core concept, core idea to work from. And then, we go from there. And on this project as well, we brought James Hewitt in, who's done a phenomenal job to assist us in this. Because as you've seen, we've got quite a busy workload. So we're looking at friends in the industry we know. And James is, is a good friend of ours. So he's done a great job of really polishing that, and Jamie, assisting from our end to make sure that it fits that Steamforged feel from a product. So.
How does it feel from like a gamer point of view, as fans of the IP as well, having to handle this? It's like being asked to do something like Star Wars.
It's terrifying.
What's the personal feeling?
It's difficult. I mean, there have been days when, particularly for the sculpts for me, because I love the visuals of this game and the mechanics have followed it just as well. And I remember seeing the Devil Trigger miniatures. They're the really big demon miniatures that come for the game, and seeing those come through from Tom. And I was running around the office going, "Look at this! It's amazing! It's fantastic! It's great!" And it's kind of really good that this building kind of almost forms our support group when we're working on a project we can't talk about in public, because we can talk about it at least in the building. So I'll take a picture and be like, "Look at this! This is fantastic!" And they obviously won't go anywhere outside, but you can at least room within the building. It's great. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a surreal experience. It's quite difficult to explain, but you just feel honoured and privileged. And try and do the best with it you can.
It is crazy because you grow up playing playing Resident Evil. Just a great example. Like in Resident Evil 2, I love that game. And to think now that I've, it's not me, but our team, Steamforged has made that game, into a board game is just phenomenal, and being able to work with Capcom and get the original art files and stuff, and just seeing how it was all constructed behind the scenes, and things you wouldn't normally see, and it blows my mind.
That in itself must have been dead exciting.
Oh, it's incredible. Sherwin, Sherwin the lead on that. Sherwin is one of the die-hard Resi fans I've ever seen, and this was a dream come true, this project for him, and I think it's reflected in the quality of the gameplay as well, because any Resi fan knows that game is Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, we did. We've had it on the podcast, haven't we? And I'd definitely say we're fans, and that's a great thing, because when you get an IP like that, everybody who's played it has their own idea of what makes it Resident Evil, what makes it Devil May Cry, and it's like you see now with the latest Game of Thrones series, and everyone like. It split people, hasn't it? Split audiences. You've got these people like, no, I want it to be this way, and then other people like, no, it's actually really good. And
I've been using the excellent metaphor of Christmas Day. So it's like Game of Thrones, it's like the run up to Christmas, it's Advent, and then it's all very exciting, and you're building up, and then you got Christmas Day, and it's like, it's gone so quickly. What's happened?
Why am I so hungover?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just it's all the same, isn't it? Really. But in terms of like the IPs and like working with Resident Evil, and working with Devil May Cry, are you working with the same team at Capcom, or did you work with different people each time?
It's different people. So there'll be a certain level of seniors we work with for just the initial concepts, and then depending on what team it is, they'll have their own internal teams like we do. So it really depends. So DMC team was different to obviously the Resident Evil team and that. So it just depends on which one.
So you have to start those relationships from scratch almost.
Yeah, we do and we don't really, because a lot of like what will happen is like, and happened with DMC is that the lead in Resident Evil 2 that did when we started that one, he worked very closely with the DMC guys, and the DMC guys saw like just like we do, they saw in Capcom, what are you doing there? Well, that's brilliant. I wonder if they could do that for my IP, and then we'll get a phone call like
cool.
So there's a lot of interaction there. So and I think that's what happened. Pretty much happens. So you get this kind of roll-on effect in their company, and Capcom have been an incredible partner for us, and we love working with Capcom, and I think we can't wait to continue to working with Capcom. So.
And how did those initial conversations come about? Because obviously Guild Ball's your own IP, and then you did like Dark Souls, and so it's taken a jump. You had proven success, but it's going
a little bit of a jump. Yeah.
So how did that all come about? Did you just turn up at the From Software offices, knock on the door?
I would love to say it's just super easy and no problem, anyone can do it. But Matt comes from a long line of a video game industry, and that's what he's done. He's a producer in the video game industry before starting all this. So he'd worked on Heavenly Sword, he'd worked with Sony, he'd worked with Bandai Namco, he'd worked with Capcom before. You might recognise some of these names. So he had a little bit of a Rolodex, and he got a good reputation for being a strong producer on titles. And so when we first met Bandai, and his name was known, so it helped us get a little bit in that first import, and then the creatives that we managed to show them and what we could do actually sealed the deal. It was a difficult journey, but it feels like it was it's been a year. We had a cool big IP.
Yeah,
it's not as easy as that. There's a lot of stages. There's a lot of learning to do. The amount of legals, contracts, and just the sheer upscaling you got to do to get these positions. So I wouldn't say we're lucky. Lucky's a weird concept, and I'm never sure. We worked very hard. I think by working hard, lucky things happen.
You work yourself into a position where you can allow those lucky things to happen.
So when the opportunities arise, we managed to grab them. It's I think there's a brilliant Netflix series, Toys That Made Us. If you've not seen it,
I watched the first episode of it. Yeah,
absolutely
incredible. The Star Wars one.
I definitely watch if you watch that, because I think there's moments in that. I'm not referring to our own company, but there's moments in that where in pitching stuff things happen, and it's just a great idea of people with ideas and concepts, and how you sometimes got to really put yourself out on limb to grasp things and then deliver on it. It's incredible. Yeah, I recommend that one. So
definitely a good watch.
Jamie, can you tell us about obviously you're excited about Devil May Cry, but what have been your favourite projects to work on whilst you've been here?
Even though it took a while to first convince me to play Guild Ball, as Richard said before, once I started playing that game, I genuinely fell like full on in love with it. And I've been working, even though I work on it less now because I've moved into a bit more of a management role for the development team, I still can't fully let go of it. It's very difficult to.
Yeah.
So that's always been probably my number one passion project since I've been here, since day one, and I think it still is as well. It's just a fantastic game. I always love playing.
Excellent. So,
yourself, Richard. Favorite project. Pick your favourite child.
It's really, it probably is. This is the thing. A Guild Ball is it's like the lifeblood of the. Everyone here, knows Guild Ball. It's our first IP. The God Tier is looking great. Our next miniature game that was, it's a long development on that project, and I cannot wait for people to play that this year. I think actually Dark Souls for me, because I was quite heavily in the production of Dark Souls and actually getting the core thing out, and although it's just a mammoth project, and the amount of knowledge that got pumped into the team from that project, for good or for bad, the journey, I think that's really what gritted the whole company and made us what we are, and I think that's, I cannot wait this year for the stretch goal delivery later in the year to get that all completed finally and get and because I think that, I'm already seeing it now, a lot of people revisiting the game this year going, stretch goals are coming. I can't wait to play them. Because
it's like breathing fresh life into it again.
Yeah, and we're getting the murmurings already. We're already with our distributors and the retail because the reprint of the core set's coming out as well. So everything's aligning for Dark Souls to be really kind of coming round again. So and we can't wait. Our Bandai are so happy what we've done with the title and what we can do with the title as well. So I think for me, Dark Souls was. I think Guild Ball's at heart was my pure passion, but for the things I've learned from and things I've grown from, I think Dark Souls has been fantastic. So.
Brilliant. Well, I'd like to talk to Jamie just a little bit more about what you do here at Steamforged, because you're a senior developer. So what exactly does that mean when you get a game? What sort of position is it in? Is it all very much like, index cards and bits?
Well, it varies project to project. So Matt Hart, being the creative director, a lot of our initial concepts come from him and people that work close to him. So I've been working with him on initial concepts before, so other people as well. Sherwin does quite a lot of the initial design work with Matt. So it changes quite dramatically from project to project. In very broad strokes, what will happen is they will come up with a concept where if they've got it to a working prototype stage, and when they've got it to a working prototype stage and they've played it a few times, they'll bring it up to the office because Matt and Sherwin both work remotely.
Right.
And they'll bring it up and go, this is the concept we've got. We've got this working prototype. What do you think of it? We'll have a bit of back and forth over the concept. And if they need to, they might go away and refine it a bit more. But basically, when they've got to a point where they're super happy with it, we'll come in, we'll bring it in. The project managers will have a look at it as well, and we'll chop it up and start having to think about how we can get this game produced and trying to think about its limits. Because once you've sort of worked out your borders and limits, so you can start filling in all the gaps. So you want to know sort of rough card counts and what kind of space you can work within the box, how big the miniatures are going to be, if there's going to be miniatures at all, that kind of thing. And then at that point, you just need to start filling in all the gaps, producing all the content for the game. It will get assigned to one of our game developers in the team. So you've got a team, therefore, basically of a project manager or production staff, the original designer of the game, and then a developer. And the three of those will kind of work between them on all these aspects of the game. The project manager's pulling together all of the graphical assets and all what the game's going to look like, and they're sorting where it's going to be produced and what the shipping timelines, all that kind of stuff's going to be. At the same time, the developer is putting together these enormous spreadsheets of where all the different card numbers are going to get filled in, orchestrating our playtest groups as well to make sure the game's working along. And the designer, the initial designers are never out of the picture. They're always coming in periodically. They'll get a bit quieter because they need to go and work on further designs. Yeah. But they're always coming in and going, let's just have a look at this. Can you tell me about where you're up to with the playtesting? And it's always good to maintain that relationship between design and development. Because sometimes a developer can just accidentally, I've done this before myself, you can get into a point where you can go, I've got it in my head, I want it to work this way, and this is the most balanced way of working with it, because that's sometimes what's most important to a developer on a given day. And then a designer will need to come in and they need to have that conversation. We go, I understand what you need to do this for game balance. At the same time, that's not as fun, or it's not kind of the initial idea I envisioned. Let's work it back a little bit. Let's talk between us about how this idea can work in a slightly different way, and then set them off again. It's really important those three work together for that reason. Yeah. And then you can get down toward the end of the project, and then you start bringing other teams, the media staff, for instance, about how they're going to start publishing, etc. And then you kind of go from there. So that's in very, very, very general, broad strokes is kind of how it works.
Excellent. So like you're the fix-it men of the department, really. It's like
trying to be super humble, but yes.
But it's a super important job, really. Let's do all these epic logistical tasks and free up those designers to design.
I think it's interesting as well. I think Jamie highlighted there is it's having that open mind though, because when a pure creative comes at something compared to someone who is more development analytical format, there can be clashes there that sometimes they can never see the other side. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And something we've really tried to promote in Steamforged is have the view of the other person, because that will make you a better developer or creative at the same time. Yeah. And that's why James said those touch points are really key, because there will be angles. Me and Matt, when we started this, together we complement each other's skill sets when we managed to make Guild Ball, because I'm much more analytical and Matt is much more the creative realm. But together, actually, after 5 years of arguing each other, we got to a stage where actually we can see each other's point. So and that's when the real good stuff happens. Actually, when you can really understand why they're trying to achieve that.
When the science meets the art, kind of thing.
Basically, and it's a very, very difficult position to get to. And I think if you're a new designer and if you're going through that loop, it does take time. It does take time, and some people will struggle to ever get there. But it is the open-mindedness to each side and what they bring, and the crazies are the crazies for a reason, right? The magic beans of Matt Hart. Yeah, that was what they're known as. Yeah.
Well, when you're being creative, sometimes it's nice to have constraints, and just like some, a framework to work within, so that you can make something that is tasty for everyone and not just some crazy mental blob of a game.
We have our, we've developed our Steamforged culture and the way we do things, and that's what we've experienced in here. But you could talk to other designers, developers. If you're a one-person developer, like or a publisher, it might be a different experience. But definitely for us, it's been that kind of little triangle that Jamie explained, and the kind of the flow between those. And there's not really a hard line, in between any of these areas. Between the creative and production, that whole journey, there's a lot of blurred lines between it. And it's good, but it causes problems when, who's my line manager? Well, I don't know, because I'm working on this today. And it's not clear like that sometimes. It took us a while to get to that, but now I think we've got a system that kind of flows really nice.
But it gives you more flexibility as well, more agility to pop between projects, especially when you're handling so many different IPs and projects at once.
Well, it makes sure, as Jamie said, that when that product comes out the end, it still has that creative flair, it has that control in it though as well, and it's not too balanced on either area. It's just a real nice mix of all of it.
The trick is to disguise all of that process, isn't it, and give the players a thematic experience at the end of it.
Exactly.
And you wanted to kind of try and take the best of all the key areas, make sure that everyone's influence is felt exactly where it needs to be felt. One of the key structural changes, because this process is still evolving, one of the key structural process changes that we made about a year ago, less than, is that we actually combined the production and development staff teams together. It's now called the Pro Dev Production Development team. But they all now work in one room on purpose, so that we can all speak to each other if we need to. We don't have to. I mean, it used to be that we were working in different parts of the building, and we ended up finding, as our working relationships got closer, that we'd spend most of our time walking back and forword between those two rooms. Just thought we'll just have everyone in the same room, just cutting out all of that time, and that just was another great leap forward in terms of allowing those two teams to work together on the things they need to work.
Then we also brought a product owner on as well, and Alex was the lead developer of Dark Souls, but then he's moved on now to a more senior role, the product owner, and his job is to ensure that the customer experience. So his job is to literally come and prod the development team, the production team, and the creative team, and go, what journey am I having as a customer? Is this going to be fun? Is it not? Why is this happening? From everything from just the gameplay side, from opening the box, and that I think it's been really valuable to see that, and he really champions the customer in those roles as well. So
cool.
Because sometimes you can lose sight in your own beautiful vision of what you're creating, but is it actually good? Is it fun? And does it represent the target market you're trying to target? So.
Cool. So you guys are spending all day, every day, working and developing games and board games. What do you do for downtime in the evening? Do you get so sick of them that you just don't even want to break out a board game?
Just play more board games. I mean, we're quite lucky we have an on-site. We created we kind of worked out.
Tell us about the Forge.
Yeah, so we kind of worked out that we were all gamers, and when we got this new place, we were like, well, what could we do for staff on site? We're not Google, don't get me wrong, we're nothing like that, but we thought we could have a few tables and play a few games there. So we kind of had some space earmarked out in the building to do that. And when we did it, we were like, well, a lot of staff want to buy games from different publishers and stuff. We all play all sorts, and we're quite proud to say that. We play Games Workshop stuff, we play Steam on stuff.
You play the enemy's games?
Yeah, believe it or not, it's, we're a small industry, we are enemies, so we like to, and we're quite open about that. We play with people's, because, there's plenty of good games out there. So we started to go, well, actually, we could make to help staff here, we could get a trade account, and because we're all buying products all the time anyway. And slowly, the Forge idea came about, where actually we can make an on-site retail store. So we did that. So we've got an online retail, on-site retail store. It's open 6 days a week. It's got an online website as well. And we stock all the major range from all our competitors technically. And
is this all a trick so that you can pay your employees in games instead of cash?
I wish it was. That saved me overheads.
Take a very Joseph Salt sort of approach to this.
No,
Come get your Forge tokens.
Yeah, it's support the community of the game as well. We also noticed that in Trafford where we are, there wasn't any real, there's very little.
There's nothing to do, is there?
There's nothing really about the Trafford Centre and stuff like that. There's nothing actually to do. So we need the game store around here. So that's what we wanted. So we set up on site, and it's been great. We've kept it quite under the hood. We've just been very slowly building it, and word of mouth's getting round. And we're now starting getting 20, 30 people a night coming playing games, just from word of mouth.
Yeah.
So, for us, it's not, it's not our main income stream and everything like that. We make games here for Steamforged, what we do, but it's just a really nice thing to have. So, we'll stop at work, and we've been here till 6, 7 or a Kickstarter launch, and we'll knock out a game and play a board game or whatever, get some takeaway in and play games. It's just
Fantastic.
great it's really fun.
It's a great idea, and you see it in a couple of different industries. So, like, an apparel company might have a shop upstairs as well.
Yeah.
Like breweries as well, opening brewery taps everywhere, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's great to see companies like you knocking out really brilliant products and then opening like a space where people can actually come talk to you and play games with you as well. It's pretty
and
epic.
we got a bar as well. We've got a bar license now as well, which is great.
Okay, so
helps on launch nights and things like that.
we're getting a taxi home.
He does have the advantage as well.
You're the designated driver, Leki.
So we also have the advantages of on playtests as well. So we can invite people down or to private playtest screenings or games, stuff like that. We can run tournaments for our own games on the site and see that. So we get a lot of data and a lot of kind of feel for people. So it is really useful facility. So
I just want to drag back to one particular point you raised as well, which is for me, something I didn't realize, but I've now come into really treasure is it's so important to be able to just enjoy what we're doing, because ultimately, as you say, we're making games. It's important. You'll always get the best work out of a creative when they really genuinely enjoy what they're doing, and love what they're doing, and have a passion for it. It's key to never lose that. So one of the really important things about it is we can play any games that we want to play in the public is the point I'm trying to get around to. And we're encouraged to go and play other people's games. You can play Steamforged games if you want to. I'm running a Guild Ball tournament this weekend. I don't have to. I'm choosing to because I love what I do. Yeah. But at the same time, I can go and play a 40k tournament or a Star Wars Armada tournament and enjoy that. Go and write about that in the public if I want to. And it's great to have that freedom and just be inspired to genuinely love what you're doing and not lose that. And it's a point I want to drag up because I think it's so important.
Yeah, Jamie Gibble, our community manager, plays a lot of Shadespire, and I play a lot of Shadespire as well. We just love games. We're gamers, as a company. So, we play our own games, we play other people's games, and we just play a mix. And I think it's naive and to think that some of these big gaming companies with all these different creatives only play that company's game. I mean, come on, it's
researching the competition, right?
It's
that as well. Genuinely,
that is a genuine point. How can you? If you as a game designer just look at what you only do, then you'll never get better.
You can't look at your stuff all day long and then go away and continue to look at your stuff. You'll get jaded.
Complacent and jaded on what you do. So we are always playing a new game, going, wow, that is excellent, or that's terrible. We'll frame our own opinions, and all that bubbles away. And when we're making our next game, bits of things will appear and not appear, and remember how they did that? Oh, we could do this, and so it just keeps us fresh and keeps all our stuff.
Brilliant. Well, while we're on the subject then, is there any sort of particular designer's work that's turning up to the tables upstairs? Are you looking at, is there other designers like Jamie Stegmaier or Vladimir Zelda?
Could be Lord up there.
Who are your faves?
James Hewitt is someone we talk about quite a lot.
Yeah, James' games have been great. I've got Dexter's Titanicus on my desk at the moment in my room. So
is that the old school one, or is this?
That's the new version.
New version.
Yeah,
right, okay.
So James was one of the leads on that for Games Workshop. So I think he's done a great job of it, and it's kind of really hits home that old school nostalgia feel, yet kind of modern kind of design.
Yeah.
Although Games Workshop have a real habit about when they do rules and rule books, you have to go about 3 books and then find out the section you want for points. And I understand why they do it. It's just really frustrating. I want one sheet to tell me everything. So I end up using the army builders to build the army.
There's a funny conversation. You came to me one day, Jamie, I want to play Death Watch. How do I do that? Well, you need at least 13 books, 3 manuals. It's fine. You'll enjoy it though.
So you only need 4.5 pages from all of them though. So
yeah, exactly.
I had Dawn of the Zeds arrived yesterday, and it's got 5 rule books.
5 rule books, right? Impressive. So yeah, I think I've got one of Jamie's. I'm currently. I swear I'm building the best side version you can have outside of his own. So I've been doing this for a long time now. It's an internal joke a bit, but I've got the metal miniatures, I've got the upgrades, I've got the meeple upgrades, the wooden upgrades, the tokens, the promos. I've been doing it for about a year. So I think the only thing I need now is the module map he's just released. So
right.
I've got to get that. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of that system. And when it's finally complete, this ultimate set, I will have an epic game upstairs. That's the plan. But yeah, I think his stuff's great. I think FFG do a great job, don't we? A lot of us love FFG games.
What do you think about the app-based stuff they're doing?
I haven't played the new one yet, the Lord of the Rings one. Yeah, I've seen it played upstairs in the Forge. It looks awesome, really, really cool. So obviously
it's a trend, isn't it, with the new Fantasy Flight games now, with the thematic games, with using the apps. Is that something you guys would consider?
I think there's a...
We've looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get too much away, but the whole digital realm is interesting, right? And bringing that into games, how you do that and that. I think in the past, a long time ago, there's been people that tried it and didn't hit it. I think FFG doing a great job of kind of that middle ground interaction, which is happening. And it's just going to be interesting to see where it goes, So
I mean, with the miniatures games, it's been really fascinating watching the kind of things they've been doing the last couple of years. When they did the experimented with what was it called, the X-wing game.
Which one?
X-wing. Sorry, Star Wars
Armada.
game. No,
the Rebellion, was it?
No, it's the miniatures one with the foot soldiers. It's not Legion. No, it's not Legion. The one that was like Descent.
Imperial Assault.
Thank you. Sorry, yes. Sorry, I took it.
I was looking at Tristan like, you own this game, we played it.
There's some fantastic radio there trying to come up with a name.
I'm just going to say, every Star Wars word I can think of.
Sorry, Imperial Assault, where they had like an AI control bad guys who got to play through a campaign mode. Very innovative watching how they do that. I actually spend a lot of time now playing X-Wing, and they recently added an official app to that. So it's an interesting way to watch them. As a miniatures game, very, very fascinated about the way they conduct their erratas and the way they need to change things over time. Most living miniatures games, you kind of need to accept that you're going to need to make changes every now and then, just because that's the way changing and evolving living miniatures games work nowadays. And they do this by not having any point values printed on their cards. They are only through this free app. That allows them to change the points every 6 months or so without having to change any of their printed material. Very, very simple change, but very clever.
And then remove the meta as well at the same time. So,
Absolutely.
You're no longer just trying to remember everything.
With Guild Ball, we looked at that. I mean, that was pretty clever. So we actually went digital with a lot of the Guild Ball cards. So we keep up to date with our cards. We have a Guild Ball Manager app as well.
Yeah,
where you can download it and play the latest version of those cards. So like James said, it was quite cool to see how they did that. So they've got the half and half. We went full digital in our product line.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be an ever evolving position. I think as we go forward. I think so.
Yeah, we've not really seen it used probably to its full potential. So we really enjoy playing Mansions of Madness, where basically you've got a virtual DM that will just tell you how you set the board up, and then you move around and take damage and stuff. But an interesting one was Munchkin. There's an app for Munchkin, and all it does is count to 10. But it's amazing because you don't have to try and remember what everyone's level is at and who you need to
just check the levels for you.
You're just clicking up and down per player, but it works really nicely. But I think augmented reality, virtual reality, all this sort of stuff, how that's going to
I think we mentioned it like with Resident Evil 2. I think when we started looking at things like, wouldn't it be cool if you get to the puzzle room and you can scan the room and all of a sudden you can do the puzzle.
You've got an actual puzzle to do. Nice.
Things like that would be cool concepts. And
because that's a lot harder to replicate in a game and have it change each time.
Exactly. So I think there's so much that's going to come forward from publishers and that over time. It's just that level does require an investment, and it's cost and that.
It's a whole new development team, or you're outsourcing a lot of work, aren't you? Really, and it's going to bring cost.
So it's all about balancing that and growth of games and platforms, and and I think and not going too far as well, because at the end of the day, we there's a reason people play board games, and it's that kind of interaction.
Getting away from screens.
It's interaction with people, and that always needs to be key. It needs to be supplementary to it, not take over that experience, I think. So.
It's often interesting as well, trying to find a challenge of trying to do something that you could do. I mean, I'm going to say this in massive air quotes, easily in an app, and then trying to find a way of representing that in a board game when you can't just have a random generator or when you've got to do it through a card deck. It's very interesting trying to think your way around that problem as well, just from a different perspective.
Definitely, and things that people think of it like that, in a UX where someone can do it easily as a player, but that's just an absolute minefield of problems for a developer or a publisher to actually create that in the first place. Full on. Well, we're going on for quite a little while now.
Yeah, I get the sense we could just sit here and chat all day. So conscious of your guys' time, and also that we need to go and check out the Forge. We should probably.
So other than obviously like Devil May Cry, doing great guns on Kickstarter, is there anything else that you want to let the public know about? Are you coming to UK Games Expo this year? Or?
So 2 questions there. We're not going to Games Expo this year. Part of the when we're doing the investment in that, it took a lot of internal resources to actually get that right. So we've kind of had a little bit of a hold on kind of some of our shows around this time. Gen Con's our next big one that's coming up to us, so we've kind of just aimed for that one basically. So and then for upcoming projects, it's definitely a big TB, confirmed, like TBC. There's lots of things being worked on. I think we confirmed that there's another 9 brands we're bringing to the market this year. Wow, so fantastic. There's a lot of stuff. So we're going from it's going to be a real upscale, and I think come Christmas time, there's going to be a lot of SFG products under people's trees because there's quite a few nice toys coming out. So, and then the roadmap is bright and shiny, and we can't wait to show everyone what we've been working on. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Very exciting stuff on the way.
We're going to come back then, aren't we, and discuss those projects with you in the future.
Yeah, well, with that in mind, where's the best place for people to learn more about SFG and the products that you've got coming out?
It's that easy. It's steamforged.com. So if you go to our website, you're going to see kind of all the products there. We've got our web store there and links to our local game stores, distributors, etc. We are running quite a big overhaul as part of our investment. We've done a big kind of e-commerce thing that's going to be announced in the press very shortly. So there's a bit of exclusive here. So I think this next week it'll come out. I think E3 Creative in Manchester. We're going to be working with them on a brand new website. So they're a top bunch of guys. They really understand Steamforged and what we are. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. So I think all that'll do is enhance people's experience of getting data. Because one thing we're chronically bad at is getting all our kind of things we've done on our Guild Ball and our IPs.
Yeah.
We've got all this artwork and all this information, but actually giving a user journey of that is quite difficult on the web to do, and you end up either lost in big PDFs and documents.
Yeah.
So I think what we're going to try and unlock that and really give people an experience when they come to our site. So yeah, there you go, bit of exclusive for you there.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Well, it's been brilliant chatting to both of you. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, and we'll be back very soon with another podcast. Me and Tristan chattering about more games.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Richard. Thanks very much, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.